Alright, it's time to do something that's become a tradition on this channel just before the NPB season gets underway. That is a ranking of the top 10 starting pitchers in NPB going into the 2022 season. This will include both the Central and Pacific Leagues ranked together. It's not exactly a ranking of their 2021 performances, though I will often be using last year's stats to justify their rankings. Rather, this will be the 10 pitchers you can expect to lead the way in the new season. Some of them were among the best in 2021, and we can expect that to continue in 2022. Others were injured or underperformed last year, and I'm counting on them to turn it around this year. I'm only going with pitchers who've played at least one full season in NPB, so while guys like Chibalote Marines pitcher Koda Sasaki could be one of the top 10 pitchers in NPB this year, he won't be on this list. He only threw half a season last year, and while it was quite impressive, we've seen a lot of prospects come in and look dominant right away, only to fizzle out when they go a full season. As of right now, he hasn't done enough to be compared with the top pitchers of NPB. Before I get started on the new top 10, here are some guys from last year's top 10 that will not be on here today. Rakuten Eagles starting pitcher Hideaki Wakui is one. I had him at number 10 even though he had a great 2020 season. The reasons were his age and his decline at the end of the 2020 season. It turns out I was right. The 35-year-old right-hander saw his ERA rise from 3.60 in 2020 to 5.04 in 2021. His best days are certainly behind him. Number 9 was Hanshin Tigers pitcher Yuki Nishi. The 31-year-old right-hander had an ERA of 2.26 in 2020. A year later, it was 3.76. A couple SoftBank Hawks pitchers fall off the list after disappointing seasons last year. 31-year-old right-hander Naoki Higashihama was number 8. His ERA jumped from 2.34 in 2020 to 3.70 in 2021. Still good, but not a top 10 pitcher. Same story for 30-year-old right-hander Shuta Ishikawa, last year's number 7. His ERA rose from 2.42 to 3.40. And there's one pitcher that was one of the best 10 by the end of the 2021 season that will not be back for the 2022 season, and that is Nick Martinez. Last year with the SoftBank Hawks, the 31-year-old right-hander started 21 games, through 140 innings, ERA 160 with a record of 9-4. He is back in MLB now with the San Diego Padres. And now for the new top 10. Number 10, Naoki Uesawa of the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. The 28-year-old right-hander has been one of the best Fighters pitchers for several years now, and had the best season of his career in 2021. 24 games, 160 1/3 innings, 12 wins, 6 losses, 2.81 ERA, 1.042 WHIP, 135 strikeouts, 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and 1 complete game. From 2020 to 2021, his strikeouts decreased, but all other pitching stats improved, giving up fewer hits, fewer walks, and fewer home runs. His fastball tops out at 94. Other pitches he throws are slider, cutter, fork, and changeup, in that order. Number 9, Tomoyuki Sugano of the Yomiuri Giants. I had him at number 4 last year, and in previous years was even higher. He missed part of last season and didn't perform up to his usual high standard. Actually, if you're only looking at 2021 stats, you could argue that he shouldn't be mentioned here at all. But I'm willing to bet that the 32-year-old right-hander has a few more great years left in him. In 2021, he was 6-7 in 19 starts, 115 2/3 innings, 3.19 ERA, 1.028 WHIP, 102 strikeouts, 7.9 strikeouts per 9, 2 complete games with 1 shutout. He mixes a 4-seam and 2-seam fastball, averaging around 92 and getting up as high as 96. The rest of his arsenal includes a slider, curve, and sinker. Sugano appeared to be headed to MLB during the 2020-21 offseason, had a couple offers from major league teams, but ultimately decided to re-sign with the Giants. Number 8, Masato Morishta of the Hiroshima Carp. He was number 6 on my list last year. That was following his 2020 Rookie of the Year season. While still the ace of the staff last year, his numbers regressed a bit. He made 24 starts, 163 1/3 innings, which ranked second in Central League. 8 wins, 7 losses, a 2.98 ERA, 4th lowest in Central League, a 1.2 WHIP, 132 strikeouts, 7.3 strikeouts per 9, 1 9-inning shutout. He gave up a lot more home runs in his second year than he did in his rookie season. Home runs per 9 innings went up from 0.4 to 0.9, while his ERA rose from 1.91 to 2.98, and his strikeouts per 9 innings dropped from 9.1 to 7.3. Those are still good numbers, but if he can get back to how he was throwing in his rookie year, he has the potential to be a top 5 pitcher. His 4-seam fastball, which he uses about 50% of the time, averages around 92, tops out at 97. His number 2 pitch is a cutter, which he uses about 25% of the time. He also mixes in a curve and a changeup. Number 7, Masahiro Tanaka of the Rakuten Eagles. Last year he was making his triumphant return to NPB after 7 successful seasons with the New York Yankees, and I put him at number 2. If I had done an end-of-the-season pitchers rankings, he barely would have cracked the top 10, if that. But I'm sure now that he's had a year to get readjusted to NPB, he'll have a better 2022, though it'll be nothing close to what we saw from him in his early days. He threw 155 and 2/3 innings in 23 starts, win-loss record of 4-9. That was mostly just due to bad luck. Pacific League's fifth best ERA at 3.01, WHIP 1.028, 126 strikeouts, 7.9 per 9 innings, one complete game. Fastball gets up to 97, averaging in the low 90s. Also throws a splitter, cutter, slider, and curve. Number 6, 33-year-old lefty Yuya Ono of the Chunichi Dragons. In 2020, he was the best pitcher in Central League, throwing 10 complete games, 6 shutouts, and an ERA under 2, on his way to winning the Sawamura Award. He wasn't so dominant in 2021, but still one of the league's best. 22 starts, 143 and a third innings, 7 wins, 11 losses. That comes with pitching for the team with NPB's worst offense. Central League's third best ERA at 2.95, WHIP 1.026, 118 strikeouts, 7.4 per 9 innings, only one complete game, a year after throwing 10. Walks and home runs allowed were about the same as the previous year. The big difference was more hits allowed and fewer strikeouts. He doesn't throw a wide variety of pitches like the other pitchers mentioned here. He's got a good sinker, slider, and a fastball that averages around 91, tops out at 94. Number 5, 28-year-old right-hander Koyo Aoki of the Hanshin Tigers. I didn't put him in the top 10 last year, just gave him an honorable mention at the end of the video. But by the end of the season, it was clear that he was not only the ace of the Tigers staff, but one of the best pitchers in Central League. He made 25 starts, threw 156 and a third innings, tied for the league lead in wins with 13, losing only 6. ERA of 2.48 was Central League's second lowest. WHIP 1.222. He only struck out 104, 6.0 per 9 innings, which is typical for him. He's a ground ball pitcher, so he gets the outs, but he always has a low strikeout total. A big improvement he made from the 2020 to the 2021 season was reducing the walks he issued. It was 3.3 walks per 9 innings 2 years ago, but last year he brought it down to 2.8. He's a sidewinder and sometimes submarine pitcher. Top speed is 92, the lowest of any pitcher on here. He throws a two-seam 43% of the time, 25% slider, 23% four-seam, and throws an occasional changeup and cutter. Number 4, 20-year-old lefty Hiroya Miyagi of the Oryx Buffaloes, the youngest pitcher in this top 10 list, and last year's Pacific League Rookie of the Year, one of the big reasons for the Buffaloes' sudden turnaround in 2021. In 23 starts and 147 innings, he won 13 games, ranking second in Pacific League, and lost only 4. His 2.51 ERA also ranked second, WHIP 1.068 with 131 strikeouts, averaging 8 per 9 innings. Didn't finish any games in his rookie season, but he'll probably do so as he gets on in years. His fastball reaches the low 90s. He throws an 80-mile-an-hour sweeping slider and a slow curve. Going by 2021 stats alone, you could put him as high as number 2, but sophomore slumps are common for pitchers who have a great rookie season, as Masato Morishta did last year. It'll be interesting to see how well he can follow up on his rookie campaign. Number 3, 27-year-old right-hander Yuya Yanagi of the Chunichi Dragons. After looking mostly average in his first 4 seasons, Yanagi really came through in 2021, winning the Best 9 award for Central League pitchers. In 26 starts, he threw a league-leading 172 innings, 11 wins, 6 losses. That's really good considering the low run support he got. His 2.20 ERA was the lowest ERA in Central League. WHIP was 1.012, number 1 in the league with 168 strikeouts, 8.8 per 9 innings. So he was very close to a pitcher's triple crown, just a little short on wins, but like I said, not his fault. He got poor run support, and he threw 2 shutouts. From 2020 to 2021, he lowered his ERA from 3.60 to 2.20, helped out a lot by giving up fewer home runs. His home runs per 9 innings average fell from 1.1 in 2020 to 0.6 in 2021. Around a third of his pitches are four-seam fastballs, averaging around 88, topping out at 93. He uses a cutter for another third, and mixes in a curve, slider, and changeup. Number 2, 29-year-old right-hander Koda Sasaki of the SoftBank Hawks. I had him at number 1 last year because he had been the league's top pitcher year after year, including the 2020 season when he won the pitcher's triple crown, and was named Pacific League Best 9 pitcher for the second year in a row. Right at the beginning of the 2021 season, he suffered a ligament injury that kept him out for a couple months, but once he came back, he was as good as ever. 13 starts, 84 and 2/3 innings, averaging over 7 innings per start. 10 wins, 3 losses, ERA of 2.66, WHIP 1.028, 90 strikeouts, 9.6 per 9 innings. From 2020 to 2021, though his ERA went up and his strikeout rate went down, he gave up fewer hits, fewer home runs, and fewer walks, showing that he could potentially be even better than he was in 2020 when he was the league's best pitcher. He has reached 100 miles per hour with his fastball, but recently tops out in the high 90s. He's best known for his forkball, also throws a good splitter and adds a cutter and a slider at times. He's tried unsuccessfully to be posted to MLB in the past, but the Hawks just wouldn't part with him. Next offseason, he should be eligible for international free agency, so we could see him in a Major League uniform for the 2023 season. Before I get to number 1, here are a couple pitchers that just missed the top 10, and it was close. Hiromi Ito, a 24-year-old right-hander for the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters, coming off an excellent rookie season in which he started 23 games, threw 146 innings, struck out 141 with an ERA of 2.90. He's got a fastball that gets up to 96, and throws a slider, splitter, changeup, and a slow curve. The other one is Takahiro Norimoto, a 31-year-old right-hander for the Rakuten Eagles. He was 11-5 with a 3.17 ERA in 23 games, 144 and 2/3 innings, second in Pacific League with 152 strikeouts. From 2014 to 2018, he was one of the league's best pitchers, annually posting double-digit wins, nearly 200 innings, and over 200 strikeouts. He uses a four-seam over 40% of the time, averaging around 92 and getting as high as 98. After that, he's got a slider, changeup, splitter, and a very occasional curve. Number 1, Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Orix Buffaloes. The 23-year-old right-handed pitcher is the reigning Pacific League MVP and Sawamura Award winner. He threw 193 and 2/3 innings in 26 starts, averaging more than 7 1/3 per start. Winner of the Pacific League Pitchers Triple Crown, 18 wins and 5 losses, ERA 1.39, WHIP 0.847, 206 strikeouts, averaging 9.6 per 9 innings. He threw 6 complete games, 4 of them shutouts. Four-seam fastball, which he uses for 36% of his pitches, tops out at 98, averages 94. His next favorite pitches, in order, are a forkball, curve, and cutter. It was a tough call for the top spot. Yamamoto was hands down the most dominant pitcher in 2021. Senga had been the best pitcher in the previous 2 years, but missed half of last season. I've gone with the more recent one. But in 2022, with both pitchers healthy, it'll be really interesting to see who is number 1 by the end of the season. That's what I think. Let me know what you think down in the comments. That's all for this one, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.